This happened back in the 80s. I lived in the Lower East Side of the city, in a poor neighborhood. My mom is a single parent who works 2 jobs to make ends meet. She's a hard-working woman, but I don't see her much. She leaves early in the morning and comes back late at night, tired and drained. When she's home, she's usually too exhausted to do anything but make dinner and go to bed. I know she does her best to provide for us, but it's tough being a latchkey kid. I have to take care of myself most of the time, and sometimes it gets a little lonely. When my mom is at work, like a typical 12-year-old, I spend my time playing video games or reading comic books. For context, we lived in a pretty rough neighborhood. There were empty houses here and there, but where I lived, there were mostly the elderly shut-ins. About a block away, you would see an old junkyard next to the I-94 freeway. There are lots of homeless people under that section. Most other adults worked factory jobs, so the hours were pretty long for them. Because there are just really old people around, there wasn't anyone around to hang out with. But one day, something strange happened. One day, I noticed a strange boy hanging around my house. He was short and quiet, with a strange look about him. He seemed to be shy and unable to speak, but he gestured for me to come outside and hang out with him in the backyard. I was hesitant at first, but I didn't have much else to do, so I decided to give it a shot. We played a little soccer with the ball I brought out, and after a few minutes, he looked up, waved, and left my backyard. He easily hopped over the fence and was out of sight in a second. I thought that it was pretty rude to just leave just after arriving, but I know that if he had a mom like mine, he wouldn't be able to stay with a stranger without telling anyone. I decided it was best to just forget the whole thing. 2 days later, during a warm summer evening, I was sitting in the living room when I heard a knock at the back door. I hesitated at first, but curiosity got the better of me. When I opened the door, I saw the same strange boy standing there. I noticed he was shorter than me and had a slightly larger head, wider, darker eyes, and a lighter complexion. He gestured for me to come out to the backyard, and I followed him. We sat on the grass and talked for a while, or rather, I talked, and he listened. He didn't say much, but he seemed pleasant enough. Over time, I discovered that he had some strange tricks up his sleeve. He could do sleight of hand magic and make small rocks levitate. He even made a few sticks and coins disappear right before my eyes. I didn't understand how he did it, but I enjoyed his company nonetheless. Despite his shy demeanor, I decided to give him a nickname. I started calling him Champ, and he seemed to enjoy it. Champ had a slightly large head, wide, dark eyes, and a lighter complexion. He always wore the same clothes, which were a little too big for him, but he seemed comfortable in them. Even though he didn't speak much, we seemed to have a good time together. However, as we spent more time together, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something odd about him. He seemed to be watching me intently at times, as if he was studying me. And there were moments when I felt like he was trying to communicate something to me, but he just couldn't find the words. Champ was a mysterious kid who rarely spoke and never explained how he did the strange tricks he showed me. However, one thing he did share with me were his incredible images. Sometimes, when we were sitting in the backyard, he would point up at the night sky and make a motion with his hand, as if he was drawing something in the air. As I looked up, I saw that he had some kind of light stick that you get from the dollar store, and created an incredibly detailed image of a solar system. Each planet was carefully drawn, with colorful rings and moons orbiting around them. It was a breathtaking sight, and I was amazed at the level of detail and accuracy he had managed to convey. I could only use the light stick and wave it around in circles. Another time, Champ showed me a crude picture of a galaxy, with swirling spirals and bright stars scattered throughout. I thought it was his homework for the upcoming science fair. Again, he didn't say anything, but I could sense that he was trying to communicate something important to me. What amazed me most about Champ's images was not just their beauty and complexity, but the fact that he was able to express them without talking. It was as if he was speaking to me in a language that went beyond words, a language that was more primal and intuitive. Even though I didn't fully understand what Champ was trying to tell me with his images, I felt a deep sense of awe and wonder whenever I looked at them. They were like windows into another world, a world that was both strange and familiar at the same time. One night, my mom was running late, and she called me to let me know that she wouldn't be home until much later. She instructed me to cook for myself, and I decided to make a simple peanut butter and jelly sandwich for dinner. As I finished up my meal, I heard a strange noise coming from the back door. When I went to investigate, I saw Champ standing there, silently staring at me. At first, I was startled to see him inside my house, but I quickly realized that he must have found a way to enter the house undetected. He was wearing different clothes, mostly tight-fitting, and they were more stylish than his baggy clothes. His wide, dark eyes seemed to be observing me carefully, as if he was trying to assess my reaction. I gestured for him to come closer and join me for dinner. It was just P, B, and J, but every kid likes that. He looked at the jars for a long time and then just shook his head. He gestured towards the door. As it was getting late, I was afraid my mom would come home and would yell at me for letting a stranger in the house. Even going outside when it got dark was not allowed. It wasn't that my mom didn't trust me, but it was all of the creeps and punks in the neighborhood that would try to break into our house if they saw only me. Keeping the doors locked and the shades mostly drawn was the best plan for keeping nosy people from looking inside. Champ pointed outside to the backyard, where I saw a faint blue light. He took my hand and led me outside, pointing at the light. I felt a strange sensation in my hand, like a gentle squeeze, and I knew I had to follow him. But at the same time, I felt like I might be getting into trouble. Champ turned and looked at me, and in that moment, he changed. He was no longer the young boy I had come to know. Instead, he was an alien with gray skin, a large head, and dark, almond-shaped eyes. There was an insignia on his chest, and he waved his long fingers. From within the light, there was a much taller version of Champ. They had no insignia, but their head was twice as large. They wore what I could only assume was the kind of outfit a priest would wear. Only theirs was a light gold white. The taller creature placed their long fingers on the shoulders of Champ. Champ looked up, and taller version, I'm guessing, was Champ's parent. They looked at each other for a few seconds. The light grew brighter, and then suddenly, they were gone. I went back inside, feeling both amazed and frightened. I thought about what had just happened, wondering if it was all just a dream. But as I got ready for school the next morning, I noticed something strange. My peanut butter jar was open, even though I remembered closing it the night before, and my toy cars were arranged in a different way than I had left them. I never saw Champ again after that night, but sometimes I still wonder if it was all just my imagination, or if there really was something strange and mysterious happening in my backyard.